Well, welcome to Jim's Table Topics, May 2019. Constitutional Crisis. Yep, the DCAT bag, it's still on vacation. I wish I was. But we're still here, stuck in our constitutional crisis. Voting, well, that was back in 2016. And this is the show, May 2019. Let's have at it. Well, good evening, Davis, and all you viewers out there. This is Jim Morose, and this is Jim's Table Topics. The May 2019 version, focus. We're going to call the show, we're going to start titling the shows. This one is, it's a constitutional crisis. It's a constitutional crisis. I don't know if you can see it, feel it, or touch it, but that's what they keep telling us. 24/7, it's a constitutional crisis. There is a constitutional crisis. Where is it? I know where there's a lot of constitutional crises. And it's not in the Trump White House, I'll tell you that. But at least we digress. So it's a constitutional crisis. So first and foremost, and always, we'll focus on the good news as opposed to the fake news and the bad news and all the other news that isn't fit to listen to. And then we'll start with the constitutional crisis, but everything all merges together. The constitutional crisis, we got the 2020 presidential candidates, and socialism will be the second thing. And the third thing will be the fake news. And again, it all ties together. The fake news, the deep state, global citizens of the world, please unite. Yes, please unite. But until then, what we'll do is those are our topics for tonight. And so we'll start right off with the good news. And the good news is, as always, we just finished celebrating the Resurrection Sunday. Jesus came, as promised, the Messiah. He came and died for our sins, rose again from the dead, as predicted in the Bible. And he sits at the right hand of the Father and just waiting for the end of the age, which we're going to talk about, the end of the age. You know, like I said, our church is doing a study on, it's called The Story, and the story's broken into the upper story, which is God's story, and the lower story, which is our human story down here on earth. But, needless to say, you know, as we learned all this stuff from all the way from the Garden of Eden through the Old Testament and all the things that happened for the Exodus, the Noah, the flood, this and that, everyone needs to know what the prophetic clock is. Back in the Old Testament, everybody was looking forward to the Messiah. They were waiting for the Messiah to come in God's plan, and that's what the chosen people and the Jewish people were all about. Knowing, loving, and serving God, and waiting for Jesus to come to save them. And Jesus came, and everybody was looking, but not everybody saw him, as we see in history, that only a small minority of people believed Jesus was the Messiah. It's grown. The Christianity is a third, of the population here. That's another story for another day when you think about it, because 85% of this country claim to be Christians, but they certainly don't act it or vote it or live it. But that's another story for another day. So before I go on, we're going to I got a 7-minute read. I'm going to read right from Matthew about the end of the age and the second coming of Jesus. So let's go right to that reading. Okay, so this is Matthew 24. We're going to start at verse 3. As Jesus was sitting on the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately. "Tell us," they said, "when will this happen? And what will be the sign of your coming and the end of the age? Watch out that no one deceives you, for many will come in my name, claiming I am the Messiah, and will deceive many. You will hear of wars and rumors of wars, but see to it that you are not alarmed. Such things must happen, but the end is still to come. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places. All these are the beginning of the birth pains. Then you will be handed over and persecuted and put to death, and hated by all nations because of me. At that time, many will turn away from the faith and will betray and hate each other. And many false prophets will appear and deceive many people. Because of the increase of wickedness, the love of most will grow cold, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. So when you see standing in the holy place the abomination that causes desolation spoken of through the prophet Daniel, let the reader understand, and let those who are in Judea flee to the mountains. Let no one on the housetop go down and take anything out of the house. Let no one in the field go back to get their cloak. How dreadful it will be in those days for pregnant women and nursing mothers. Pray that your flight will not take place in the winter or on the Sabbath, for then there will be great distress, unequaled from the beginning of the world until now, and never equaled again. If those days had not been cut short, no one would survive, but for the sake of the elect, those days will be shortened. At that time, if anyone says to you, "Look, here is the Messiah," or "There he is," do not believe it, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. See, I have told you ahead of time. So if anyone tells you, "There he is, out in the wilderness," do not go out, or "Here he is in the inner rooms," do not believe it. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will the coming of the Son of Man. Wherever there is a carcass, there will be vultures. There the vultures will gather. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. There will then appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then all the peoples of the earth will mourn when they see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a loud trumpet call, and they will gather his elect from the four winds, from one end of the heavens to the other. Now learn this lesson from the fig tree. As soon as its twigs get tender and its leaves come out, you know that summer is near. Even so, when you see these things, you will know that it is near, right at the door. Truly, I tell you, this generation will certainly not pass away until all these things have happened. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will never pass away. The day and the hour is unknown, but about that day or hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of Man. For in the days before the flood, people were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark, and then they knew nothing. And they knew nothing about what would happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is the way how it will be coming the Son of Man. Two men will be in the field. One will be taken, the other will be left. Two women will be grinding with a hand mill, and one will be taken, the other will be left. Therefore keep watch, because you do not know on what day your Lord will come. But understand this: if the owner of the house had known at what time of night the thief was coming, he would have kept watch and would not have let his house get broken into. So you must also be ready, because the Son of Man will come at an hour when you do not expect him. So that's at the end of verse 43, 44, Matthew 24. So this is, they talk about this. It's almost as if that little part there, the sun will be dark and the moon, that's global, I guess that's the global climate. That's, the world has always been predicted it would end, and there's nothing you can do to stop that. Okay, so welcome back. So that was right out of the Bible. I mean, it almost reads like some of the movies and things that you see, you know. The stars falling out of the sky, the end of the world, and all this stuff. I mean, like I said before we went to the clip, before I went to the story, I just wanted to, we need to know our prophetic clock. People in the Old Testament were looking for Jesus to come. Jesus came, and now we're looking back to know that, okay, Jesus was the Messiah here. Do we believe? And what's coming in the future? Well, that's what's coming in the future, what I just read. Okay? So, it's, you know, we all have some, they always have all these doom and gloom movies in Hollywood. The end of the world, it's there's global warming, it's going to be earthquakes, we're going to be hit by an asteroid. There's a lot of things that could happen, but it's predicted right there in the Bible 2,000 years ago. Okay, so there it is, folks. There's not much, you know, we're going to do. I think the rule of thumb, the stat goes like this: that Mount St. Helen threw out enough pollution and carbon dioxide, or whatever the dioxins are that we're so afraid of burning carbon fuel, threw out more, 10 times, 100 times more than everything man has done in his whole life. Okay, so, and guess what? It cleared up because God made the planet. It's perfect, cleans itself up. Every bug, every natural occurring ecosystem that God created cleans everything up. Lobsters are basically the cockroaches of the sea. They just run around and eat everything, clean it up. Crabs, all those bottom feeders clean everything up, and the top, and that's the whole ecosystem. That's how it works. I think back in the old days, the prisoners complained because they used to feed them lobsters all the time because there were so many of them. But of course now it's a luxury. But we need to know what the prophetic clock is. You need to know what you believe. I know what I believe, and one of the things we just learned in the story is, you know, Paul, the Apostle Paul. Well, he wasn't apostle, but yeah, he was. He was Saul, then he was Paul the Apostle. He did a lot of evangelizing there, and then they beheaded him for being a Christian. And pretty much every apostle was brutally killed for his Christianity. But he discipled Timothy, who was the next generation coming up, and so that's what I like to think I'm trying to do, is as a baby boomer, I'm trying to focus on, you know, the Gen X's and the millennials, and this is the Gen X, Gen Y, and the baby boom. So we have to hand off the baton, because I'm over the hill and almost on the other side, and we really need to focus, because as you'll see when we get into our other topics, it all comes together. I heard a couple of great things. One of which was, you know, there's two ways to be fooled. And one is to believe a lie, and the other way is to refuse to accept the truth. Okay, so those are the two dichotomies. So you have to ask yourself, where are you? What do you believe? Why do you believe it? Is it false? Is it true? And does it go with the narrative, or is it fake? And the other thing I heard the other day was pretty funny, some people are so heavenly minded they're no earthly good, and then some people are so earthly minded they're no heavenly good. But yeah, we don't have to worry about too many people being heavenly minded, no earthly good. Everybody's too caught up in our own little world right here, stuck in the earth. So all I'm saying is there's a lot of things going on in the spiritual world and in God's kingdom that we need to focus on. They're going to be playing the 2020 election for the next 2 years, okay? All 2019 and all 2020. You're going to get tired of it. But there's a Franklin Graham is Billy Graham's son. He's doing they used to call it the crusade. He's calling it, Decision America Northeast tour, and basically he's doing one in every state. Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, Massachusetts. The one in Massachusetts in Springfield. The one in New Hampshire is in Manchester, which is May 23rd, and I think Manchester is actually closer than Springfield. But at any rate, we may be going to the one in Manchester May 23rd, but or we may go to Springfield, which is later. But again, those are things. There's a lot of different things going on besides politics. I mean, I've had so many discussion with politics, and they say, well, if you don't get involved in politics is what makes the world go round. And no, it's Jesus and that makes the world go round, and politics is a rotten business, as we'll find out later in the show. Okay, I think I've overrun my good news time, so let's just end it with this. Just remember, God's got a plan for you. God loves you. And he's just working with you. He's just hoping that you come to him and talk to him and give your life to him and let him take care of some of these problems that we all end up having. So, who's ever watching, God bless you. God loves you, and have a good day and stay tuned. Okay, we'll be right back. Okay, so now we're going to go into topic number 2. The constitutional crisis. You hear it. I mean, it's really funny when you watch some of these things that, on Fox. They show all the liberal outlets, because Fox is basically the only last bastion of conservative, and it's, it's really not that conservative anymore. They've sold out. They've become rhinos. There's more liberals on Fox News than anything else. It's just getting pathetic, but that's another story for another day. So there are only a few people left there. But at any rate, they show all the liberal, all 25 of them, just right after another. It's a constitutional crisis. It's a constitution. They all say the same things, talk this the narrative and the talking points of the day. It's not even the week anymore. It's something, now it's the constitutional crisis. They've been hammering that. Before it was the Russian collusion. Now there is no Russian collusion. They're so lazy. They know they're so wrong, they won't even go down to the room in the Capitol building where the unredacted report is, and they won't read it because they know that it just indicts the investigators, and there will be hell to pay. Okay? They're going to try to smear, bemoan, and everything the new Attorney General Barr, because he is going to go after the people. The judges have already sent their letters to the FBI, and the FBI didn't tell you, or the media. They leak. The only things that the FBI leaked were things to make Trump look bad, and the only other thing was to make Trump look bad and to make people who think like Trump and who support Trump look bad. That's all they ever did for 2 years. They haven't accepted the election results yet, okay? And so now that it's all over, even the judge who got the Pfizer report there, whatever you call it, they gave him the fusion dossier that they bought from the British agent, the Russian dossier on Trump that had all this bogus stuff in it. They all knew it was lies. Hillary bought that. She funneled money through all these little shell companies and things, but it was paid and bought for by the Hillary campaign, and the Democratic National Party bought that dossier, leaked it into the feds, into the FBI, and sold it off as some great big, investigation. And you know what? They all lied about it, and even the judge, after they heard what was going on, the judge went back and looked at it, and they wrote a report, and they gave it to the FBI and said, you guys, that's wrong. And that's what's redacted in some of the report that they don't want to read, is that it points at Comey and a couple of more of those FBI leaders were, they broke the law. They were the ones who were colluding and obstructing justice. and leaking things. And that's the deep state that we're in, okay? So we need to understand that the constitutional crisis isn't the Trump administration. The constitutional crisis is the socialists that are taking over the Democratic Party and taking over the Republican Party, because Trump doesn't just fight against all Democrats, because all Democrats just follow the same lead. But there is the hashtag walk away. People are walking away. Hey, I was a Democrat. I walked away a little earlier in the 90s, okay? I should go make my own video of a hashtag walked away. Yes, hi, my name is Jim. I voted for Ted Kennedy all the way up until the 90s. I didn't vote for Ronald Reagan. I voted for Jimmy Carter, okay? So, yeah, that's right. I'm a reformed Democrat. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, I wish we were at the ranch, the constitutional crisis is like I said, Donald Trump isn't just fighting the Democrats and the Rhino Republicans. It's the deep state. They're all part of the swamp. I thought about this when Seth Moulton said he wanted to run for president. I think he actually is going to throw that in the ring for president. Seth Moulton, he went down there as a veteran and a congressman, and he lived up to his name. He molted from a congressman and a Vietnam or a vet, a Gulf War vet, into a swamp creature. He just goes down the party line. Hate Trump, socialism. Hate Trump, socialism. And it's a scary process. It really is. I'm going to have to stop and think about how we vote. We'll get into that. But again, it all kind of ties together. The people that are screaming a constitutional crisis, I can guarantee you 99% of the people, 1 out of 100 could probably answer, where do our rights come from? Where do these human rights, where do these rights that are in the Bill of Rights and in our Constitution, where do these rights come from? Okay, do. Okay, do. That's it, time's up. From the government, from the federal government, state government, local government, from the UN, no. It's written in our Declaration of Independence. We are all endowed by our Creator with unalienable rights that cannot be bargained for and taken away. They're innately ours. We do those. The Bill of Rights, those first 10, they couldn't list them all, but don't worry, the UN's going to do it. They're going to list every one. I think they're up to 299. You have a right for this and a right for that. No, no, we have a right to live our lives to our conscience and what we believe, and we can't. If our beliefs impinge or infringe on someone else's rights, then that's where we end it, okay? So, but, no one has the right to a safe space. We all have to. I listen 24/7 to all this liberal swill and socialist propaganda. That's the constitutional crisis. The media hasn't reported a real story. Well, we'll get to that too. But there's just so much going on but those are the 10 Bill of Rights. If you look at it closely, the first one says Congress shall make no law, and it goes into free speech, exercise of religion, free exercise of religion, the right to grievance and assembly and all this. Congress shall make no law. Boom. Because the states didn't want the federal government because they wanted their freedom. So they said, okay, we'll sign the Constitution and accept the Constitution, but we want these 10 things you can't touch. You can't touch these things. Congress shall make no law. Boom, number 1. Number 2, shall not infringe. Shall not infringe on the gun rights, on the right to keep and bear arms. It's not even guns, it's just to keep and bear arms, whatever the arms are of the day. Okay? So, otherwise we'll end up like Venezuela, but we won't get there. You talk about a constitutional crisis. They want to repeal the Second Amendment? No. They've already repealed the First Amendment on college campuses. They got safe space. They will not let a conservative speak on a college campus. Lord have mercy on us. You know, and again, it's all one, you know, talk about collusion. The media, the Hollywood, the deep state, the entrenched socialist Democrats and socialist Republicans, and all the institutions all have the same narrative. Capitalism, Trump, conservatism is bad, and everything that's socialist and is good. And now they're getting to the point where now you've got Big Brother, between, all these, what do you call them, Facebooks and Twitters and all of this. They're blackballing, oh, that's a microaggression. Macroaggression, sound the alarm. They're editing out, they're shadowing out, they're blocking conservative speech on these on the airwaves and on the internet. So then you wonder why people openly will accept all this socialism dribble, because they don't know that it's bad. I mean, you just got to look at Venezuela. Don't look any further than that. If you can't look at Venezuela and go, so that's what socialism looks like, huh? That's just mild socialism, because he hasn't really got entrenched yet. But if you go to a good, firm, solid, entrenched socialism, otherwise known as communism, you go to Russia and China, then you either go with the government or you're gone, okay? In the socialist regime, they'll make fun of you, make you feel bad, call you names and stuff. But in a communist regime, if they think you're against the government, then you're either in the gulag in jail or they'll execute you. They don't care. They got millions of people to do your job. As you can see in Venezuela and in Russia, and that's how it works. Okay, so I guess I ran out of time here on my constitutional crisis. I got a time crisis. Okay, we're gonna move right on to. Okay, so talking about socialism, I got this email here from John. I remember these words of Nikita Khrushchev. He said we would become a communist nation from within. One of our so-called political parties is attempting to go there, and many people seem to be agreeing. Remember the words. If you don't learn from history, it is destined to repeat itself. They aren't perfectly applicable, but young folks don't learn enough of history, and older folks keep saying it can't happen here. So we got to pay attention. So here's this is Nikita Khrushchev, Mikhail Gorbachev, Nikita Khrushchev. Just a good communist leader. We cannot expect Americans to jump from capitalism to communism, but we can assist their elected leaders in giving Americans small doses of socialism until they suddenly awake to find that they have communism. Okay, so that was Nikita Khrushchev. So now we have, this is our illustrious past president and our, all the people running for president in 2020. And the little saying here, and now here we are. Norman Mattoon Thomas, he was a presidential candidate from 1956 to 1964. And he said, the American people will never knowingly adopt socialism, but under the name of liberalism, they will adopt every fragment of the socialist platform until one day America will be a socialist nation without knowing how it happened. I no longer need to run as a presidential candidate for the Socialist Party. The Democratic Party has adopted our platform. And that's where we are, folks. These people right here want to turn us into Venezuela. And from Venezuela, you go to you know, Cuba and then Russia. Because Russia is working with Cuba and Venezuela, and it's all about power and control. Okay, that's it. Okay, so now that's right. We're going to move on to item number 3. 2020 presidential candidates and socialism. I know part of the constitutional crisis, I went over some of the socialism stuff, but it's just interesting to see. I mean, there's like 20 candidates, and let's face it, you know and I know that the media will make or break any candidate by the way they report them. Okay? And everyone is, you know, starting and peaking, and you got your Beto's, you got your Kirsten Gillibrand. Apparently she thinks that everybody should, you know, have, all the illegal aliens should have Social Security rights and free health care and everything else. It's like, we pay for this stuff and we can't get it. We're paying through the nose and paying through the nose. Our taxes keep going up. And now we're just going to give it out for free. But, you know, I mean, when you think about these people running for president and you know, they talk about all these great programs and all this stuff they want to do, but when you look at all the Democratic-run areas, they're disasters. You know, they don't show you what's going on in San Francisco and up there in Washington, the state, and Oregon, the state. I forget the you know, what towns or cities they got up there that, you know, they're what do you call them? They're sanctuary cities, and everyone's there. It looks like you think it's France or, you know, or some third world country. They got tents all over. They used to be out in the outskirts of the city, but now they're just right in there. They have to go out every morning and power wash all the you know, human waste off the sidewalks. It's getting pretty bad. It's getting unhealthy. Those cities are turning into third world countries because of socialist democratic policies that these new presidential candidates will be pushing. I thought it was funny. I heard today on the radio that Joe Biden has got the solutions for all the problems that we have, except for one thing. He was a senator for 36 years. He was a vice president for 8 years. That's 44 years. And Trump's the problem? People, these elections mean nothing. They come up and they lie to us, to our face. They promise us all this stuff and they do nothing. We've got the same problems, if not, they're just worse. And they run and they run and they lie and they lie and they blah, 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 and nothing ever changes and nothing ever happens. The swamp people want the status quo. You've got 20 swamp dwellers up there screaming for the status quo. And they're all crying because eventually, you know, when the Attorney General Barr starts investigating the investigators, a lot of these people are going to be getting a ticket in line to go confess all their sins so that they can get a plea bargain and rat on someone else. It's going to be like a rat fest because they just assumed that Hillary was going to win, so that all the swamp lies, all the swamp stories, all the corruption and deceit and lies and corruption and deceit that is just so rot in Washington would just continue on. But see, that's why they hate Trump, and that's why you can't get the truth about Trump, because he is not a swamp creature. He's trying to expose the swamp, and every time they do it, they pick up all that muck and grime and slop from the swamp and they throw it at him, and they just try to keep him down. But we'll see how that goes. I mean, but he's doing the best he can. You know, the press wouldn't say one nice thing about him. In fact, if you watch my show from, what is it, May? So the April show, again, we had the congressional hearings there with, you know, Candace Owens went in there to talk to these swamp dwellers, and they brutalized her. She's a black woman. Oh, but she's a conservative, so it's okay. Let her have it. It was sad. It's just sad what they do. It's got nothing to do with whether you're female, women rights, black, lives matter. No, it's all boils down to the narrative. You're either a socialist Democrat or you're an evil conservative. And that's how it goes. So you got your 20 candidates. They're all going to be, they're going to be lying to you. And you're going to believe what they say? Are they going to change anything? They're going to just promise all these things for everybody. And there is a constitutional crisis at the border that they deny. Even President Obama's Homeland Security Director was on TV and the radio last week, a month ago, and said that, yeah, every morning when he went into work, if he didn't, if he read his report and there was more than 1,000 people apprehended at the border the day before, he knew it was going to be a bad day. He said, but most of the times it was under 1,000. He says, now we're up to 5,000 a day, 10,000 a day. He says, I don't know how they can handle that. It's impossible. And he is correct. And that's Obama's Homeland Security Secretary. Okay, so they're lying to you. They're lying. Every one of these presidential candidates are lying, lying, lying. And I love Cory Booker. He's beautiful. He's beautiful. He wants to take away the Second Amendment. He doesn't like guns. They're very hurtful. And he said that he's a God-fearing man, and but your thoughts and prayers mean nothing. They ain't going to help anything. Oh, so he's a Christian man, but thoughts and prayers mean nothing. See, and that's the difference between the spiritual warfare, spiritual weapons, and earthly weapons. Okay? Again, God has a plan for humankind and for everyone, and if we would stop and smell the roses and stop and thoughtful recollection, find out about God, learn about God. I mean, that's our. We have a little saying at church. It's a motto or something. It says, "Know God, love others, and make disciples." So you have to learn about God, and you have to so you have to learn about God, then you got to know God, then you got to love God, and then we're all going to work together, because they'll know what Christians by our love. Yeah, there are some people that, again, there are some Christians that say they're Christians, but they're really not Christians. But it's very hard, because Satan is he's good at his job. He's a deceiver. He is the great deceiver. That was his claim to fame. The first sin, he made Eve eat the apple, and Adam and Eve ate the apple, got kicked out of the garden. And then the next, Satan deceived Cain into killing Abel. There you have it. So the first family disobeyed God, and then the first brothers, one of them killed the other brother, and it's been that way ever since, right? It's just chaos and confusion brought to you by the devil, and he does exist. So you don't believe it. There's the Holy Spirit and the evil spirit. Okay, Satan. Those are the angels that again disobey God. He threw them down there. This is their kingdom. God said, "Okay, you guys can, you're down here." But if you read the Bible, you'll find out that the devils know who God is, and they tremble. And it was very clear in the old days that people knew what evil was, and you could see evil, and you knew what evil was, and we called evil evil and good good. We can't do that today because you'd hurt someone's feelings. But don't worry, your presidential candidates, your congressional candidates, and all your candidates are gonna just do whatever they can to help you. They're gonna help you a lot. They're gonna get us, what have they done? What are they doing to us? They lie to us. You wonder why. The only reason that we survive is because there are givers and takers in this world, and most of the givers are just doing their duties. They're so busy working to take care of their family and doing their duties. They ain't got time to get involved in this stupidity. Who's got time to go protest? I mean, don't get me wrong, I've been to a few protests, but I don't make a life out of it. Oh, man, but these candidates, and we got to help our candidates. You got to find one you like, but I mean, I can tell you right now, I'll be supporting Trump. And the economy's doing great, and we need to even out that economic playing field, which he's doing pretty well. He's doing it. I know that the press and everyone is, giving the Trumpster a bad name about all this, tariffs and all this other stuff, but, we've already been sold down the river with NAFTA and GATT. As Trump said, they were the worst deals in the world. So he's undone those deals, and now he's got flat deals that are good for us, and it's even. But see, they're so used to taking advantage of America and getting the better of the deals, and really, when I say taking advantage of us, I mean really taking advantage. We shouldn't even be paying all our foreign aid, but that's another story. We pay everything and they pay nothing. And so now all of a sudden they have to pay their fair share, and their feelings are, well, they better get used to it. Welcome to the real world, people. So yeah, it may be a little painful in the beginning, middle, and end, but it's something that has to be done. No, what do they say? No pain, no gain? Okay, a little pain, we'll have a lot of gain. We've already got, NAFTA and GATT gutted all our infrastructure for factories and just manufacturing here in the States. Trump has brought that back. We've got jobs now, we've got factories going, things are happening. And they will keep going. Yep, they may slow down a little, but they're here. They weren't here before. President Obama, he said that get used to, we'll never have anything more than the 1.3 GDP or whatever the metric that he was saying. And so of course now he's hiding his head and he can't go, because and he said, Trump, he's lying to you. He'll never, those days are over. There will be no 2 or 3% GDP in growth rates, but that's what we got now. And those are the Trump policies. It's not the Obama policies, because Obama already said you can't do it. And his policies, he sent money, he sent palletfuls of money over there. That's why they're crying. He was paying them. We shouldn't be paying. Didn't we learn that in the playground, in kindergarten, and grammar school? You don't pay people to be your friends. You don't pay people bullies to leave you alone. No. You can give them money to help them, but not to so they can take advantage of us. No. And we're $25 trillion in debt. Who's going to pay that? And we're still giving them money. No. I don't know what these socialist democratic presidential candidates are going to do, all 20 of them. But I'll tell you one thing. They scare me. They just scare me. They get up there, they promise you the world, and we all know that they're not really going to come through with that. But if you're going to vote for a socialist Democrat just because it's not Trump, that's not a good thing. I mean, Thomas Jefferson said the biggest threat to our democracy is an uninformed voter. And if you haven't been following and don't understand the real economic policies, and the Constitution and the form of government, I mean, even just the Electoral College they want to get rid of. Do you know if they got rid of the Electoral College? I'll explain it in 30 seconds. It's basically like a golfing or bowling handicap. No one's going to bother with Massachusetts with 17 measly, or 27, whatever our number is, delegates. But if you can all those delegates combined, you know, if you just go with the combined, you have to hit every state. You would have to get enough from every state. You just can't get like these states and that states. You have to get a bunch of them. But if you go with the popular vote, you could only go to 3 or 4 states, the biggest ones. And if you can carry them, the other ones don't matter. They would never come. They don't come here anyway because Massachusetts is a lost cause. With, you know, the landscape in Massachusetts, the turf or whatever you call it, the crust of Massachusetts is at least blue for the first 30 feet. Oh man! But at any rate, yeah. So the presidential candidates and socialism, it's not a pretty picture, but we shall see what we shall see. Okay, we're going to go to. Okay, so talking about socialism. I got this email here from John. I remember these words of Nikita Khrushchev. He said we would become a communist nation from within. One of our so-called political parties is attempting to go there, and many people seem to be agreeing. Remember the words. If you don't learn from history, it is destined to repeat itself. They aren't perfectly applicable, but young folks don't learn enough of history, and older folks keep saying it can't happen here. So we got to pay attention. So here's this is Nikita Khrushchev, Mikhail Gorbachev, Nikita Khrushchev, just a good communist leader. We cannot expect Americans to jump from capitalism to communism, but we can assist their elected leaders in giving Americans small doses of socialism until they suddenly awake to find that they have communism. Okay, so that was Nikita Khrushchev. So now we have, this is our illustrious past president and our, you know, all the people running for president in 2020. And the little saying here, and now here we are. Norman Mattoon Thomas, he was a presidential candidate from 1956 to 1964. And he said, the American people will never knowingly adopt socialism, but under the name of liberalism, they will adopt every fragment of the socialist platform until one day America will be a socialist nation without knowing how it happened. I no longer need to run as a presidential candidate for the Socialist Party. The Democratic Party has adopted our platform. And that's where we are, folks. These people right here want to turn us into Venezuela. And from Venezuela, you go to, you know, Cuba and then Russia. Because Russia is working with Cuba and Venezuela, and it's all about power and control. Okay, that's it. Okay, welcome back. I got confused in all my formatting and everything. I was supposed to throw in a, so I just threw in, right before I came back on, I threw in a 7-minute, the clip about socialism. So again, socialism is socialism is socialism, and that's what our presidential candidates are supporting, and that's where we are. There's nothing I can do about it. Okay, so now our fourth and final topic of the evening. On the table, Jim's table of topics, topic number 4 is going to be fake news, which is all tied into the deep state, the educational systems, the global citizens of the world, hear ye, and how that all plays together with the news media and the narratives and how it all, they're deceiving us from top to bottom, just like we heard about in history. And if you haven't heard how the leaders in the old days used to pull the wool over the peasants' eyes, then you probably need to read some of the old classics, because that's what it's all about. Well, that's all you can't. They're banned. They don't let them read that stuff anymore in school because they might learn something. They, you know, They don't want you to know that you have certain rights and everything else, because if you know if they teach you the rights that that the Constitution and everything gives you, then they won't be able to take them away from you, because they're gonna just take them away. You know, so that's why they don't want. That's why they don't teach the kids the stuff, and it all works together. The educational system has gone way down as far as teaching, you know, the basic, you know, historical points and morals and the whole concept of governments and how they're supposed to work and economics and all this stuff. I just don't think that it's there. I mean, we have AOC, Alexandria Cortez, Ocasio-Cortez, AOC. She was surprised when she got into her first apartment last month that there was a switch there and there was a garbage disposal. It scared the heck out of her. She never saw a garbage disposal. That's just part of the American fabric. She grew up in Yonkers or something. I mean, yeah, you know, this is stuff. But, you know, she's out there pushing all the socialist stuff that the media and the deep state and the fake news and everyone supports, and the educational system support, and the educational system cannot let any conservatives in there to speak, because the truth will set you free, and you know their lies don't stand up to the test of time and truth. They don't, and we really need to really get a critical eye on the media and what they do and don't report. Like here's an example. So the STEM school shooting in Colorado, it happened a week or two ago. Normally when these school shootings happen, it's over and over again, how mean, and it's racism, it's hateful, these gun shooters and everything else. But apparently, from what I'm understanding here, is that the two perpetrators who had the guns and were shooting the kids in the school, one of them was a gay person and the other one was a transvestite or a transgender or whatever. Transgender. So there you have it. So it doesn't quite meet the narrative, so that can't really be reported, you know. We can't go, no, because the gays and transgenders are, you know, are the beautiful people, and they don't need to, you know, be bothered with this kind of negative publicity. You know, Trump supporters and everyone else like that. That's another story. Then the media tells you to go find them in the restaurants. Go find a conservative in a restaurant and tell them they're not wanted here, and go home and don't come out in the public anymore. That's mob mentality. That's true democracy. True democracy is anything's right as long as you get 50% plus one vote, then it becomes law. Okay, I firmly believe that, you know. Back in the day, I don't have that much time left. Back in the day, you know, all the Hitler's and his minions, they all cried, well, we were just following orders. That was their big defense. Oh, we were just following orders. I mean, today, it's just going to be, oh, it's the law. Oh, it's the law. Of course, 90% of the laws that these socialist morons have been legislating are unconstitutional and don't even pass the constitutional muster. Of course, you got, you know, justices and judges that don't quite, you know, follow the constitutional rulings either, because they come out of the educational system and they don't, you know, they follow the narrative, the socialist liberal narrative. Okay. All right, so I mean, I think that's pretty much going to do it. I hope I calculated my time correctly, but that's it. The fake news is our enemy. We really need to, you know, start investigating and going on the web and finding alternate sources of news. Talk to people. Just, you know, get out of your comfort zone. Don't just keep following the same folks. You know, I mean, I have to really dig and search to find truth in the world of lies here. When you got the socialist liberal agenda, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, it's even, I try to sit down and watch some stupid TV show and they talk about global warming and the illegal aliens, like it's the end of the world, and Trump, and they make all these insinuations of, and they politicize everything, and it all works together for the socialist good. Alrighty then. Our time is up. That's the end of Jim's Table Topics for May 2019. It went fast, I think. But at any rate, again, thanks a lot for watching, and I hope I didn't offend anybody, but if I did, well, send me a letter, let me know. Tell me where I'm going wrong. You want 5 minutes? We'll give you 5 minutes. You can tell me where I went wrong. We can meet at the cable station. They have a little place there. You can just sit there and tell me your story. Okay, other than that, I'm going to have to call it. Again, the good news is God loves you. He's got a plan for you. And things aren't as bad as the world is not going to end in 12 years. And if it is, it's certainly not going to be because of global warming. But at any rate, have a good night, and we'll see you next month. Bye. Well, welcome to Jim's Table Topics, May 2019. Constitutional crisis. Yep, the DCAT bag, it's still on vacation. I wish I was. But we're still here, stuck in our constitutional crisis. Voting, well, that was back in 2016. And this is the show, May 2019. Let's have at it.